Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. Binance sued, charged the CEO. This is a big deal. Things are happening quick, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, we're looking at $1.44 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 1.3%. Bitcoin, 36,500 plus. Ethereum, just over $2,000 again. We see Tether market cap, 88.5 billion plus, but for how long? And XRP is 59 cents, bleeding heavily, 2.9 off by the 24 hour, and off by 7% on the 7-day. How about that one? Yeah, everybody's awake now, aren't they? Well, let's look at the range of price. Dipped all the way down to 57 cents at 0.5792 overnight here, and peaked at 61.49. We see we're sitting at 59.47 as far as price goes. We're still off by 2.99% right now currently. And look, we know that this could go all the way down to 50 to 52 cents if we see this downtrend, but it doesn't break what the charts are showing the technical analysts, not financial advice. We will keep an eye on it as we move forward. Now, look, we all know tons of scams going on out here. There's no better way to protect yourself than to start adding the many different necessary layers of protection to your security. And one of the best ways to do it is taking advantage of the Black Friday at 83% off for the golden ticket plus 3 months extra. You know, I tell you about this stuff, and it's so super affordable. I got to be honest, this is something you can't afford not to do for $3.44 a month. 83% off. Get the high-speed VPN, secure password manager right there can save you a nightmare if you're ever scammed or attacked. End-to-end file encryption and personal privacy manager. That's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Click the link below and check out PureVPN. You're going to love it, no doubt about it. I've used it for years. This here from John Deaton. Now, we know that Kraken was sued for $30 million. And now the SEC has come back and suing Kraken again. They've come back to the well for more money. You know, this is just insane what's happening here. John Deaton says Gary Gensler, a despicable and dishonorable regulator. He knew that Kraken believed it was buying peace at $30 million. I know some people are critical of its choice to settle and pay the $30 million. I want them to fight as well. But when you decide to fight, $30 million takes you only so far. Like maybe 1/3 of the way, if you're lucky. Ask Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse, who spent $150 million plus so far. It's not over yet, and is still paying millions in legal fees. I wasn't in the room when Kraken leadership, when the decision was made to settle, but I guarantee you things like the permanent layoffs of good, loyal employees were discussed. When the belief is $30 million buys you peace and keeps good people employed, I understand why a company makes that decision, makes it. He said, unfortunately, Gensler doesn't give a you-know-what about those same employees or investors. He's a disgrace, and I can't wait to see him go down. There's no question about it. He is a despicable regulator, no question. And here we see the news that was breaking late yesterday afternoon. Binance charged and indicted CZ. Binance settled with the U.S. and has to pay $4.3 billion fine. And here's what we know. CZ said, today I stepped down as CEO of Binance. Admittedly, it was not easy to let go emotionally, but I know it is the right thing to do. I made mistakes, and I must take responsibility. This is the best for our community, for Binance, and for myself. Binance is no longer a baby. It is time for me to let it walk and run. I know Binance will continue to grow and excel with the deep bench it has. He said, I'm pleased to announce that Richard Tang, our former global head of regional markets, has been named the new CEO of Binance today. Remember that name, ladies and gentlemen. Richard is a highly qualified leader, and with over 3 decades of financial services regulatory experience, he goes on to break it down, right? We know all of the rest of it. But I want to get you to this, because here's the actual announcement that took place, and we need to see these key moments and recognize who is on stage and who is not. And you see the Department of Justice come out here. Then you will see them followed up by Rostin Benham, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. That's who's on stage joining him. And you don't see the SEC anywhere.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm joined today by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and CFTC Chairman Russ Benham. We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, and from its founder and CEO, Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ. Separate from the criminal enforcement actions, the Justice Department is announcing today Secretary Yellen and Chairman Benham will also announce civil regulatory enforcement actions, and the Treasury Department and the CFTC are taking against Binance.
A slew of charges and fines coming down the pipe. And here is why, ladies and gentlemen. It's important to understand this.
Instead, they concluded that complying with U.S. law would stifle their efforts to grow Binance's profits, market share, and trading volume. So, rather than comply, Binance facilitated billions of dollars of unregulated cryptocurrency transactions. It willfully enabled hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions between American users and users subject to U.S. sanctions. And its platform accommodated criminals across the world who use Binance to move their stolen funds and other criminal proceeds. Binance prioritized its profits over the safety of the American people. In part because of the crimes it committed, Binance became the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. Now, Binance is paying one of the largest corporate penalties in U.S. history. Binance employees knew and discussed that the company was serving thousands of users in sanctioned countries. And they knew that facilitating transactions between U.S. users and users in sanctioned countries would be in violation of U.S. law. But they did it anyway. Binance enabled nearly $900 million in transactions between U.S. and Iranian users. And it facilitated millions of dollars in transactions between U.S. users and users in Syria and in the Russian-occupied Ukrainian regions of Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. Binance's own compliance personnel also knew that the company's anti-money laundering procedures were inadequate and would attract criminals to the platform. In a February 2019 chat, one compliance employee wrote that they needed a banner that said, quote, "Is washing drug money too hard these days? Come to Binance. We got cake for you." By failing to comply with U.S. law, Binance made it easy for criminals to move their stolen funds and illicit proceeds on its exchanges.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now you have to ask yourself, who's next? Who's next? Tether? Binance founder CZ was released on a $175 million bail, faces 18 months prison term for money laundering, and the review is November 27th. So another 5 days there. The new CEO, Richard Tang, was board of director at Lulu Finance when Ripple partnered with Lulu. How about that for a little connection there? Leave it to Weezy. Yeah. Now let's take a look at this. Weezy says in light of CZ stepping down and the charges against Binance, he says, I question with all the funds they have, why didn't CZ and Binance fight this? Looks like Sam Bankman-Fried got some sort of revenge from his friends in high places. Ooh, now isn't that something? If you remember, it was Binance that called out Sam Bankman-Fried for being a fraud and exposed that he was a fraud, if you remember. So could there be something at play? We certainly know that Gary Gensler held Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX in favor, because you can't say that the books checked out, and that's why they got that broker license, that's for sure. Then there's this. Who's standing in the shadows waiting to revive FTX in the news of Binance and all the illicit activity? Well, it's the former CEO of the New York Stock Exchange, Thomas Farley, who also just bought CoinDesk. But listen to him talking about the fate of FTX and maybe a bullish reboot. You can't make this up.
In terms of our involvement.
What would a crypto exchange look like today? Like what would be different about it? Is this just having regulatory oversight and approval? Is that the biggest issue?
Yeah, it's the biggest issue. I mean, most of the legacy exchanges are caught up in criminal investigations, massive civil investigations, and they're in a state of non-compliance. And that's just, look, it isn't going to work. We can all wish, I think we have a libertarian streak, and we can wish that it would work like that, but it just simply does not. And the winning exchanges are going to be trusted, they're going to be compliant, and they're going to support and bolster the digital assets industry. I mean, it is what it is. I can rail against it, but that's the position we're in.
I mean, bullish was going to be part of this has been kind of a bumpy road to get to where you are right now. How many employees now?
We have approaching 300. It's bullish.
And a lot in Hong Kong. I mean, it's global. Right?
Yeah, it's global business. We have about 100 plus in Hong Kong. But bullish, we don't spend a lot of money on marketing. That's why you and others probably don't know too much about it. It's probably the fastest growing crypto exchange. I say probably only because maybe there's one out there I'm not aware of. We're now...
So bullish is the name of the crypto exchange, but I want to get to this part here where they talk about what ETFs really mean for the space.
Is it gonna be 2025? What's the deal? What's the problem?
I'm not gonna give you a specific date. I guess I'm a little less optimistic of the immediacy of an approval. In other words, like November or even December. The current chairman and the SEC have said that they believe that pretty much everything in crypto, with the exception of Bitcoin, sometimes Ethereum, and possibly stablecoins, are securities, and that securities, at least in the United States, need to trade on a nationally recognized exchange, and they do not today.
Let's just interrupt here, okay, Tom? Because you're leaving out XRP is the only digital asset with legal clarity. What you're speaking about is a regulatory opinion. Just wanted to clear that up.
I think these two issues at the moment are interwoven. That doesn't mean they can't be decoupled, but I think there's a view that, hey, if these don't trade on an exchange, how do we know that the underlying prices are trustworthy? The thing about Bitcoin that gives me some optimism is everyone acknowledges Bitcoin is not a security, including the regulators. So possibly the Bitcoin ETF does go ahead more quickly, which would be great for the industry, because money will flood into the industry with the Bitcoin ETF. It's just easy to buy. People believe in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be here. Bitcoin's a great invention. It just is. Yeah. It is a store of value. I know it's volatile. It is a store of value.
Some people think it's a discovery, not an invention. It was already there. It was always there.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. You've been on Bitcoin.
Of course.
You've been on Bitcoin since the earliest days.
Yeah.
Well, and there we have it, the push for Bitcoin, right? And listen, I want to see the ETFs get approved for multiple cryptos and digital assets, and I believe there will be an XRP ETF at some point too in the future. But let's hear now from Stuart Altman, ladies and gentlemen, who lays this down. The Binance resolution of anti-money laundering, etc. violations is a necessary step to bring the crypto industry into compliance with these important laws and safeguards. Big banks all went through some version of this years ago. Importantly, nowhere does the Department of Justice suggest that Binance committed securities laws violations, or even suggest that the assets traded on its platform are securities. The Treasury and the CFTC joined the DOJ in the Binance deal. The SEC did not, and was glaringly absent from the stage today. This sends a clear message that the agency under Gensler has not only become an outlier globally, but an outlier within its own government. The SEC, like a petulant child who can't stand being ignored, tweeted its misguided suit against Kraken at 3 p.m. yesterday. The exact time of the DOJ press conference regarding Binance was scheduled to begin. Truly secondhand embarrassment at this juvenile behavior. Damn, Stuart, I love it. Remember, the SEC's fabricated term, crypto asset securities, is nowhere to be found in a Department of Justice case against Binance because it has no meaning under law. The courts have been very clear that tokens themselves are not securities. Oh, there's no better way to bring that home than Stuart Altman just did right there. Shout out to him. And here we go. We're getting ready to go into the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the next target of crypto. I hope you'll join us. And boy, oh boy, is there a lot going on inside of this group. You're really missing out. I hope you join us. You get so many perks. No Google ads to the daily videos that I do every day. And great conversation happening in here. No scammers, no bots. This is a really clean community. And we're having such a good time in here. And we are taking on topics that I couldn't dare touch on social media today, because this is a freedom zone, ladies and gentlemen, and we're getting to it in here, and I hope you'll join us. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.